The gravel crunches under my tires as I pull up to the weathered ranch house, autumn sun casting long shadows across the front porch where Grandpa used to sit with his evening coffee. My hands tremble on the steering wheel. 1 year. 1 whole year of silence. Just go in, I whisper to myself, but my legs won't move. The familiar scent of alfalfa drifts through my cracked window, and somewhere in the distance, a meadowlark calls. Everything looks exactly the same, yet nothing feels right. The screen door creaks open. Grandma Martha steps onto the porch, her silver hair glowing in the evening light. My heart leaps until I see her expression. "So you finally decided to show up." The words hit like a physical blow. I fumble with my seatbelt, nearly stumbling as I climb out of the car. "Grandma, I tried to visit, I swear. They told me you were in restricted care, that no one could." Restricted care? Her voice could freeze water. She grips the porch railing, knuckles white. "We've been right here, every single day." The world tilts beneath my feet. "But Mom and Dad said." "Your parents said a lot of things, didn't they?" My graduation photo flashes through my mind, the empty chairs where my grandparents should have been. Mom's casual explanation. "They're too busy for calls these days, honey. You know how it is with their health." The spring break visit when Brooke met me at the end of the driveway, insisting no one was home. Grandma Martha descends the porch steps with painful slowness, each movement deliberate. Harold knew something was wrong. Every day he'd try that number they gave him. Every single day. Her voice cracks. "My little scientist wouldn't just disappear," he kept saying. "The microscope he gave me when I was 11 sits in my apartment, one of the few possessions I brought to my fellowship. Every time I looked at it this past year, their absence carved a deeper hole in my chest." I don't understand. My voice sounds small, like the child who used to run to this porch after school. Why would they? "Come inside." Grandma pulls a worn notebook from her apron pocket. Harold kept track of everything. The familiar hall still smells of pine cleaner and coffee. But when I reach for the living room, Grandma catches my arm. "His study first. There's something you need to see." My feet remember the way, past the photos on the wall, my science fair victories, Brooke's dance recitals, our faces growing older frame by frame. Grandpa's study door stands open, morning light streaming across his desk. "Where is he?" The question slips out before I can stop it. "Is Grandpa here? I need to see him." Grandma's hands clench around Harold's notebook. When she looks up, tears glisten in her eyes. "Harold passed away 2 weeks ago." The room spins. I grab the door frame, but nothing stops the world from shattering. No, that can't be right. They would have told me. They would have. But they wouldn't, would they? The same people who kept me away for a year, who gave him a wrong number, who... A phone rings in the kitchen. Grandma Martha straightens, something fierce replacing the grief in her expression. "That'll be your mother, right on schedule." She pulls out her cell phone, finger hovering over the screen. "I'm calling everyone. Today they'll answer for what they've done." I sink into Grandpa's leather chair, the leather creaking just like it used to when he'd lift me onto his lap to look at soil samples. His coffee mug still sits on the desk, a ring stained into the wood beneath it. The last time I sat here, he told me how proud he was of my fellowship offer. "I'm so sorry," I whisper to the empty room. "I should have known. I should have tried harder to reach you." But even as the words leave my mouth, anger begins to replace the grief. They stole this from me last year with him, his final days, the chance to say goodbye. They orchestrated an abandonment that never really happened. Grandma's voice rises in the kitchen, sharp with a year's worth of stored fury. In the study, surrounded by Grandpa's books and soil samples and careful notes, I make myself a promise. They'll never twist the truth again. Not when I finally know what it looks like. 2 hours later, the leather journal falls open in my hands, its pages dense with Grandpa Harold's precise handwriting. Each entry starts with a date, a time, and a phone number, my supposed new number. My chest tightens as I scan the columns of failed attempts. The 15th of January. No answer. Left voicemail. The 16th of January. Number disconnected. The 17th of January, tried Camille's old number. Still works. No answer. He called every morning at exactly 8. Grandma Martha says, her voice rough. Said if you were doing research, that would be when you checked your messages. The dates march down the page like soldiers. February, March, April. My throat closes as I realize he kept trying through the summer heat, through harvest, through... Here. Martha taps a page from late August. This is when they started visiting more often. My eyes catch on a different kind of entry. The 23rd of August, Greg and Brooke came by, asked about farm equipment values, said Camille too busy with fellowship for calls. Linda suggested selling the John Deere. Claimed Camille mentioned wanting it sold before she left. I never said that. The words scrape out of my throat. I would never. Harold knew. Martha pulls out a second notebook, this one wrapped in brown paper. That's why he changed everything. A car crunches up the gravel drive. Through the study window, I recognize Mr. Ford's silver Buick, the same car that used to bring him out for coffee with Grandpa every third Thursday. Stay here, Martha says, straightening her apron. Timothy Ford's been waiting to talk to you. She leaves me alone with Harold's careful documentation of betrayal. The August entries grow longer, more detailed. My father's suggestions about liquidating equipment. Brooke's casual mentions of real estate prices. Their monthly visits that never happened in all the years before. The study door opens. Mr. Ford stands there, his tie as perfectly knotted as ever, but his face carries new lines. Camille. He steps in, closes the door. Your grandfather asked me to speak with you privately when you finally came home. They told me they were in restricted care. The words tumble out. That no one could visit. That phones weren't. I know. He settles into the chair across from Grandpa's desk. Harold figured it out when they claimed you'd changed your number. He said, my scientist would have made sure we had the right one first. Fresh tears burn. Of course Grandpa knew I would have triple-checked any number I gave them. Of course he recognized that detail as wrong. The will reading is at 10, Mr. Ford continues. Your parents and Brooke expect to inherit everything. They've been quite. His mouth twists. Vocal about their expectations. What do you mean? Martha returns, carrying Harold's favorite coffee mug. They have no idea what Harold did in those final weeks. Mr. Ford accepts the coffee with a nod. Your sister's been named executor in their minds. They've already discussed selling the Innovation Center, splitting the equipment. Innovation Center? My hands grip the chair arms. What Innovation Center? Martha and Mr. Ford exchange looks. She pulls an envelope from her apron pocket. Maybe you should see this first. Inside, I find receipts, tuition payments, research grants. Everything I thought my parents had funded my degree, my fellowship, all of it came from my grandparents. They took credit for everything we gave you, Martha whispers. Harold wanted to tell you, but they made sure he couldn't. The truth settles like stone in my stomach. Every dismissive comment about my expensive education, every guilt trip about family sacrifice, all of it built on lies. A familiar case catches my eye on the shelf behind Grandpa's desk. The microscope he gave me when I was 11, its twin sitting in my apartment. But this one has a note tied to the handle with twine. My fingers shake as I unfold the paper. Harold's handwriting, shakier than in his journal but still precise. For when my scientist comes home. The microscope gleams in the morning light, its brass fittings polished as if he'd been keeping it ready. Waiting. Believing. Gravel crunches outside again. A car door slams, then another. That'll be them. Martha moves to the window. Let them talk first. Harold always said the guilty can't help but tell on themselves. I look down at the journal in my lap, at the microscope that proves he never stopped believing in me. My hands are steady. For the first time since I pulled into the driveway, my mind feels clear. Let them come with their lies and justifications. Let them think they still control the story. Grandpa taught me more than science. He taught me that truth reveals itself under close enough observation. And I've learned how to watch very, very carefully. The screen door bangs against the frame. My sister's heels click across the porch boards, stopping dead at the sight of me. Brooke's mouth falls open, perfect lipstick forming a scarlet O. What is she doing here? The words slice through the autumn air. I grip the porch railing, steadying myself against the surge of memory Eshen's fairs where she never came, graduation seats left empty, spring break lies about nobody being home. The wood feels solid under my fingers, grounding me in this moment of truth. Mom and Dad materialize behind her, their faces shifting from shock to calculated warmth faster than a corn harvest after first frost. Mom's arms open wide, her designer perfume washing over me as she swoops in. Darling, we've been so worried. Her voice drips honey. You never answer our calls. Dad hangs back, jaw tight beneath his silver hair. His eyes scan the situation like he's assessing crop damage after a storm. This is a family matter, Camille. Maybe you should wait outside. The old me would have retreated. The old me lived for their approval, measured her worth in their scattered crumbs of attention. But Grandma's study still smells like his coffee. His journal rests in my pocket, heavy with truth. I'm exactly where Grandpa would want me to be. My voice comes out steady, surprising me with its strength. Grandma Martha's hand finds my shoulder, warm and sure as summer soil. Harold specifically requested everyone be present. The crunch of tires on gravel cuts through the tension. Mr. Ford's silver Lincoln pulls up, and the atmosphere shifts like a barometer before a storm. Dad's spine stiffens. Mom's smile freezes. Brooke's fingers twist her pendant, a nervous tell from childhood she never outgrew. The living room fills with painful precision. Grandma Martha takes Grandpa's old armchair, her silver hair catching the light. I settle on the sofa beside her while my parents claim the love seat, Brooke perched between them like a prize hen. Mr. Ford removes his reading glasses, polishing them with deliberate care. The leather portfolio in his lap contains more than paper, it holds a year's worth of lies about to shatter. Harold Jensen's last will and testament. His voice fills the room with quiet authority. Executed 2 weeks before his passing, witnessed and notarized according to Nebraska state law. Mom leans forward, pearls catching the light. We all know what Harold wanted. He discussed everything with us extensively. Did he? Grandma's voice could frost a July cornfield. Mr. Ford begins reading. The ranch and lifetime support go to Grandma Martha. No surprise flickers across her face as Schnoo, she's known all along. Then the hammer falls. To my granddaughter Camille, I leave the Harold Jensen Agricultural Innovation Center, including all patents, development funding, and research facilities. The room erupts. Brooke launches to her feet, face flushed beneath her perfect makeup. You promised me everything. I did what you told me. Dad's hand clamps on her arm, but the words hang in the air like smoke after a lightning strike. Mom's face goes white, then red, then white again. The remaining estate, Mr. Ford continues over their protests, will be divided equally between Camille and Brooke Jensen. This is ridiculous. Dad's voice thunders through the room. Harold wasn't thinking clearly. We'll contest. I have extensive documentation of Harold's sound mind. Mr. Ford's words slice through the bluster, including regular cognitive assessments and witness statements. Martha approved every change. Grandma stands, hand steady as she reaches for a sealed envelope. Harold left something else for Camille. The paper trembles in my fingers as I break the seal. The familiar scent of his pen ink rises from the page, and suddenly I'm 11 again, watching him adjust my microscope with careful hands. My dearest Camille, my voice carries in the hushed room. You weren't a mistake. You were a miracle they never deserved. Mom makes a strangled sound. I keep reading. I saw your scientific mind blooming when you were barely tall enough to reach my lab bench. While they pushed you aside, I watched you grow into exactly who you were meant to be. The hardest part wasn't dying, it was watching how they treated you differently, knowing I couldn't stop it without making things worse. Brooke's mascara tracks black rivers down her cheeks. You don't understand. They said if I kept you away, if I helped them. At least I was honest about how I loved him. The words taste like truth on my tongue. You have to sign it over. Mom's voice rises, shrill as a water pump needing oil. We're your parents. We gave you everything. No, Grandma Martha's voice cuts through the chaos. Harold and I funded all of Camille's education, every penny. You never spent a dime on her future. The silence stretches like shadows across a winter field. Then Grandma reaches into her apron pocket, pulling out something small and black. Harold didn't just keep a journal. She sets the voice recorder on the coffee table, her arthritic fingers sure and steady. He knew exactly what was happening, and he made sure there would be proof. The late afternoon sun slants through the windows, painting the room in shades of judgment. In the distance, a meadowlark calls the same song it sang when I first pulled up to the ranch, thinking I was the one who stayed away. I look at my family, really look at them. Mom's calculated smile, Dad's barely contained rage, Brooke's tear-streaked face. The truth stretches between us like a fence line. Some boundaries can never be mended. Grandma's finger hovers over the play button, and I realize the real inheritance isn't in the will at all. It's in the power to finally choose what happens next. The small recorder in Grandma Martha's hands looks innocuous, just a simple black rectangle no bigger than a deck of cards. But when she places it on the oak coffee table, the room falls silent. Even the grandfather clock in the corner seems to hold its breath. "What is that?" Linda's voice wavers. My fingers grip the arm of Grandpa's leather chair as Martha presses play. Static crackles, then Grandpa's voice fills the room, strong and clear as sunshine. "I'm recording this because something isn't right." A pause, papers rustling. "Greg and Linda visited today. Third time this month, which would warm my heart if they weren't so interested in the equipment valuations." Dad lurches forward. "Turn that off." They brought Brooke again. Grandpa's recorded voice continues. "She keeps asking about the will, about my intentions, but when I mention Camille," a long sigh, "Greg cuts me off every time. Says she's too busy for calls, too focused on her career to spare time for family." Mom's face drains of color. She reaches for the recorder, but Martha swats her hand away. "That's private family business." Dad's voice booms through the room. "You can't record people without permission. It's illegal." Mr. Ford clears his throat. "Actually, Nebraska is a one-party consent state. As long as Harold was part of the conversation, he had every legal right to record it." The next recording starts. Brooke's voice, sweet as antifreeze. "But Grandpa, Camille hasn't even tried to visit. She's different now, all about herself and her fancy fellowship." Mom says she barely calls them either. My sister's head snaps up, tears already gathering. "He misunderstood me. I was just worried about." "Save it." The word slices through her performance. "I'm surprised by the steel in my own voice. You gave me the wrong number, told me they were in restricted care, turned me away in the driveway." Another recording plays. Dad again. "The market for agricultural equipment is peaking, Harold, if we liquidate now." These are out of context. Mom stands, hands fluttering. "Harold was confused near the end. His medication." Harold Jensen was sharp as a tack until his final day. Martha's words crack like a whip. "Sharp enough to know exactly what you were doing. How dare you talk about sacrifice when you lied to a dying man?" The recordings continue, one after another. Every visit, every manipulation, every lie carefully documented in Grandpa's steady voice. My parents and sister shrink with each revelation, their practice masks crumbling. "Get out." Martha's command leaves no room for debate. "Get out of my house." Dad takes one step toward me. "This is still your father speaking." The laugh that escapes me holds no humor. "Then act like one for once." They gather their things in sharp, angry movements. Brooke pauses at the door, mascara tracking down her cheeks. "You'll regret choosing them over family." I am finally choosing a family. The truth settles in my chest, solid as bedrock. Real family. The door slams behind them. Through the window, I watch them retreat to their car's no control left, no narrative left to twist. The crunch of gravel fades into silence. Martha's arms wrap around me, and I lean into her strength. "You did good, child. Harold would be proud." Mr. Ford gathers his papers, explaining the additional protections Grandpa put in place. He knew they might challenge the will. "But your grandfather was thorough, documented everything, had multiple witnesses, regular cognitive assessments. They won't get far with legal challenges." After he leaves, Martha and I walk the property together. The autumn wind whips her silver hair, and somewhere a meadowlark calls the same one from yesterday, maybe. Like, it's been waiting for this moment too. "Want to see something special?" Martha leads me toward the Innovation Center, her steps purposeful despite her limp. The building smells of metal and soil and possibility. Martha points to a shelf of leather-bound notebooks. Harold's research journal. He kept everything. I pull one down, and a paper flutters to the floor. My childish handwriting fills the page a diagram of a solar-powered irrigation system I'd drawn at 12. But below my crude sketch, Grandpa's precise notes, detail improvements, calculations, practical applications. More journals reveal the same pattern. Every idea I'd ever shared with him, every wild dream he'd been developing them all. Not just humoring a child's imagination, but building on it. Believing in it. In me. My vision blurs as I trace his handwriting. Martha's hand settles on my shoulder, warm and sure. "What do you do?" she asks softly, with an inheritance of trust instead of money. The answer burns bright as sunrise. You build something worthy of it. I close the journal, holding it close to my heart. Outside, the wind has died down, and the meadowlark's song floats clear and true across the autumn fields. Tomorrow, there will be lawyers and threats and community whispers to face. But today, I stand in the house of my grandfather's dreams, surrounded by proof of his faith in me, and I know exactly who I am. His little scientist, finally home. The next day, the legal notice arrives in a crisp, white envelope, Mr. Ford's secretary placing it on my desk without comment. My stomach clenches as I read, "Estate of Harold Jensen, Notice of Contest." The words blur before my eyes, but certain phrases stand out like accusations. Undue influence, mental incapacity, fraudulent manipulation of a vulnerable elder. A photo of Brooke fills the corner of the local newspaper. My sister's tears look genuine, her perfectly styled hair framing a face of calculated grief. "All I wanted was to honor Daddy's wishes," the headline quotes. But some people took advantage of his confusion in those final days. The article spawns a flood of calls to the ranch. Church ladies with concerned voices ask Martha pointed questions about Harold's final weeks. Their worry sounds sincere, but the undercurrent of gossip poisons every inquiry. "Your father's on line 1, Mr. Ford's secretary announces. Her expression stays neutral, but her fingers drum against the doorframe. He says it's urgent." I let it ring through to voicemail. 2 days later, the emergency meeting notice comes next. Dad's law firm downtown, neutral ground for their final play. I spent an hour choosing my outfit: charcoal pencil skirt, crisp white blouse, grandmother's pearl earrings, professional armor. At 1 p.m., Mr. Ford meets me in the lobby. "They're demanding 80% of your inheritance," he murmurs, threatening to drag Harold's competency through a very public trial if you refuse. "Let's get this over with." My voice sounds calmer than I feel, and we head to the conference room. An hour later, the conference room gleams with polished mahogany and old money. Mom and Dad sit on one side, Brooke between them like a shield. Their lawyer stands at the window, his suit worth more than my car. "Camille." Dad's voice carries that familiar note of disappointment. "This has gone far enough. You're forcing us to take actions that will hurt everyone." "We're your family," Mom adds. Her fingers worry at her cross necklace. "Whatever you think happened, whatever Martha told you about those final weeks." "Don't." The word comes out sharp. I set my briefcase on the table, the click of the latches loud in the sudden silence. "You abandoned us," Brooke whispers. "You never called, never visited, and now you want to steal everything?" I pull out 3 manila folders, placing one before each of them. The paper feels cool and smooth under my fingers. "Before you continue down this path," I say, "you should know what these contain." They open the folders. I watch their faces as they read, Dad's confidence cracking, Mom's hand flying to her throat, Brooke's tears finally turning real. That's the transcript of Harold's recordings. My voice stays steady. He documented everything, every visit where you pressured him about the will, every conversation about changing his medications, every phone call where you lied about me. More papers slide across the table. Bank records proving my education came from Harold, not you. Emails between Brooke and Dad about how to handle the old man. The nurse's notes about unauthorized changes to his prescriptions. "You can't prove," Dad starts. "I can prove all of it," I meet his eyes. "The recordings don't just exist with us, they're held in trust, with instructions for release if anything happens to Martha or me. Or if you pursue this lawsuit." Mom's fingers crush the papers. "You planned this. You manipulated him into." Harold planned this. The words taste like victory. He knew exactly what you were doing. Every visit, every lie, every manipulation, he recorded it all. He just waited to see if I would come home before he died. You're trying to destroy us. Brooke's mascara runs in black rivers. Your own family. No, I pushed the final documents forward. I'm protecting Harold's legacy. Sign these non-contestation agreements and everything stays private. Fight me, and the whole town will know exactly who destroyed what. Their lawyer reads quickly, his expression growing grimmer with each page. He whispers something to Dad, whose face goes ash gray. You've thought of everything, haven't you? Mom's voice shakes. What about forgiveness? What about family? Family? The laugh surprises even me. Family doesn't steal your grandfather's last year. Family doesn't lie to a dying man. Family doesn't... I stop, breathe. Just sign the papers. They sign. One by one, cursive signatures flowing across legal lines. Their hands shake with rage, but they sign. I gather the folders while they flee, their expensive shoes clicking against marble floors. The room smells of Mom's perfume and defeat. Your grandfather would be proud, Mr. Ford said quietly 15 minutes later when I came out of the lobby. I stare out at the city skyline, at the fields beyond where Harold taught me about soil composition and trust. The papers feel heavy in my briefcase, a weight finally lifted. This was never about the money, the words fog the window glass. I just couldn't let them twist his truth one more time. Behind me, Mr. Ford begins to speak, but I'm not listening anymore. In the window reflection, I see Harold's eyes in my face, his determination in my stance. They wanted me to choose between forgiveness and freedom. I chose truth instead. And it takes 4 years to build my new center, my grandfather's legacy. At the present, the morning sun catches the dew on rows of experimental wheat, each stalk a testament to 4 years of work at the Harold Jensen Agricultural Innovation Center. My boots crunch against the gravel path as I check the sensor readouts. Something about the light reminds me of those early mornings with Grandpa, his quiet voice explaining how roots search for water. A truck rumbles up the drive, Martha's old Ford kicking up dust. Right on schedule with lunch, same as she's done every day since we opened the center. The familiar sight warms my chest. She climbs out carrying her red and white checkered picnic basket, gray hair catching sunlight. The tomatoes finally ripened, she calls, holding up a paper bag. Harold's heritage variety. The test fields stretch behind her, acres of crops arranged in perfect grids, so different from the sterile university labs where I started. Here, mud cakes my boots and wind whips my hair, exactly how agricultural innovation should feel. Perfect timing. I tuck my tablet under my arm. The new irrigation system just finished its morning cycle. Want to see the results? Martha's eyes sparkle. She knows what this means, months of work finally bearing fruit. We walk between the rows and I point out the subtle differences. These plants received 40% less water but showed the same growth as the control group. The soil moisture sensors confirmed what I'd hoped. Every drop goes exactly where it's needed, when it's needed. Just like Harold theorized, Martha says softly, "Remember when you were 11? The two of you out here with mason jars and kitchen strainers, testing soil drainage?" The memory hits strongly Grandpa's patient hands, showing me how to sift different samples, his delight when I started asking about particle size and water retention. Back then, it felt like play. Now those same principles power systems that could help farmers survive drought years. We just received the national recognition letter yesterday. I pull the envelope from my back pocket. They want to implement the system across 3 states. Martha squeezes my arm, and I see tears in her eyes. But they're different from the tears 4 years ago. These shine with pride. We settled at the old picnic table outside my office, Harold's office, once. The walls still hold his soil charts, now joined by my research papers and team photos. His legacy is growing in new directions. A group of my researchers clusters around the barn, testing next season's prototypes. Their excited voices carry on the breeze. Good people who believe in the work, who never knew the pain that came before this place became my home. "Miss Jensen?" A small voice interrupts our lunch. I turn to find Amy Cooper, all of 10 years old, clutching a science fair display board. Her father Dave stands behind her, pride evident in his weathered face. "Could you look at my project? It's about water conservation." The familiar spark in her eyes stops my breath. I was that age when Harold first saw the scientist in me. Come sit. I clear space on the table. Amy unfolds her display, revealing careful graphs and photos of different mulch types. Her experiments show real methodology, not perfect, but born from genuine curiosity. I use stuff from our garden, she explains, hands moving with enthusiasm. Dad says we need better ways to keep moisture in the soil, so I tested different materials. Martha catches my eye across the table. We both hear Harold's voice in this moment. The world needs your curiosity. I reach into my desk drawer and pull out a small box I've kept for just such an occasion. Inside nestles a student microscope, not unlike the one Harold gave me all those years ago. Every scientist needs the right tools. I passed her the box. This is how I started too. Amy's eyes go wide as she opens it. Her father starts to protest, but I shake my head. The only condition is that you use it. The world needs people who ask questions about how to make things better. After they leave, Martha and I walk the property's perimeter evening ritual. The setting sun paints the research fields gold, and overhead, the first stars peek through purple clouds. I found something this morning, I told her, reaching into my pocket. In Harold's old files. The photograph shows 11-year-old me in our backyard soil lab, hair in messy pigtails peering through that first microscope. Harold's handwriting crosses the back. My little innovator will water the world. Martha traces the words with gentle fingers. He saw you so clearly, even then. My throat tightens, but not from grief. Something fuller, warmer. Sometimes I wonder what he'd think of all this. The patents, the research teams, the international attention. Oh, he'd love it, Martha laughs. But mostly because you built it your way, not trying to prove anyone wrong, just proving him right. The Innovation Center stands silhouette against the sunset, windows glowing from late-working researchers. Tomorrow, contractors arrive to build the prototype facility for mass-producing the irrigation systems. Next month, the first units ship to drought-stricken farms in 3 states. Harold's dreams grew beyond anything he imagined, carried forward in soil and science and studied curiosity. I think of Amy's bright eyes, Dave's proud smile, my team's dedication, the family I chose, the one that grew naturally as prairie grass after rain, no manipulation needed. No roles to play. Some families only love you when you play the part they wrote. I tell Martha, watching lights come on across the research fields. Real love lets you become who you are, even when it makes them uncomfortable. She squeezes my hand and we stand together in the growing dark. Somewhere in the distance, a meadowlark calls its evening song. The same one I heard that day I first came home, thinking everything was broken, not knowing I was about to find my way to something whole.